3I Atlas Update. My name is Bill. Welcome to the Night Terrors Weekend Show, and we're starting right now. My Banned by YouTube series drops an episode every Wednesday morning. YouTube said to me, take down 3 years of your videos. Take them down. These videos are no longer available on the channel. The only way you can see them is to catch them on Wednesday. If you value what I do on Night Terrors and the streams and on the videos, one way to support the channel is through Patreon. Become a patron of the show by clicking on the Patreon link in the description below. Thank you for supporting the show. Welcome to Eldergrown and Takahama Plateau. Welcome to Green Tea and Rhino Rex. Bad Wolf has arrived. Welcome, Bad Wolf. David Bryce Jr. says good evening. Welcome, David. Let's get started. Oh, by the way, this topic, the 3I Atlas, was requested by a viewer, Vasilios Bakagias. Thank you, Vasilios. Thank you, Vasilios. Bad Wolf says, I haven't been here for ages. Welcome back, Bad Wolf. Let's get started. Rhino Rex with a suggestion. Thank you. EMCH Dogman story. Okay. I'm trusting that's spelled correctly. Thank you, Rhino. Got it. Matt EMCH. Okay. Let's see if my memory serves on that. Matt. Probably it will. Welcome to Shane Riley. Matt Emk. I wonder how you say that name. Okay, let's get started. Here at ProjectCamelotPortal.com is an uncredited story. Nope. It says, there's a name here, but there's no credit for the story. Well, we'll just swing it. It's entitled 31 Atlas. I'm sorry. I thought it was 31. 3I Atlas. Alien craft incoming. Welcome, Dennis Kong. Thank you, Dennis. I'm sorry. Dengus Kong. That's a little bit different. Welcome, Dengus. And the story begins. The visionary letter from Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna to NASA regarding 3I Atlas. And I guess it's just it's a post here. There's the letter. A post evidently on X. And the rep says, welcome, Jim Simmons. Jim Simmons says, good news. I'm urging NASA to extend the Juno mission. Juno's out in space there right now. To study interstellar object 3I Atlas. Thank you, Avi Loeb, for your continued dedication to exploring our universe. I think I have to adjust my chair here, pardon. We must seize this opportunity for groundbreaking discovery. And it says more info coming in regarding mathematical and hyperdimensional physics, which indicate this is an Anunnaki craft. See below for more. Evidently not about the Anunnaki, because I read through it, and that's the only mention there is. So we'll go to the next page, which is at medium.com, which is has a pay gateway that cannot be surmounted. But the important stuff is in the first couple of paragraphs, so let's continue. Here in a story by Vasil, entitled 3I Atlas, the interstellar visitor. It might be more than just a comet. And Vasil begins. It's not every day we discover a traveler from another star system, casually gliding through our solar system. Yet in the summer of 2025, that's this summer, folks, Astronomers' telescopes that, yeah, like June 1st or something like that, or July 1st, very early in July, picked up something extraordinary, an object later named 3I Atlas, marking only the third confirmed interstellar object ever observed. To many scientists, it's simply an ancient comet, a dirty snowball flung our way from the cold dark between the stars, they think. But to others, including a few outspoken voices in the astronomy community, there's a tiny but thrilling possibility it could be something else entirely. And yes, before you ask, the internet has already exploded with theories. Alien probe, disguised Anunnaki ship, messenger from a far-off civilization. Yeah, in fact, it's unusually oriented within 1 to 3 degrees, I think, of our solar system plane. So it's coming in so it can go by 3 of our planets. It's not going to be so near to Earth, but it will be within observational range. But it's going to take in 3 planets out of the solar system. And that's about all there is about the Anunnaki here. And that's all I could find on the internet, Basilios. There, it might be being repressed. Let's go to the third article, written by Jeffrey Grider at nowtheendbegins.com, entitled Harvard Scientists Say That Interstellar Object 3I Atlas could be an intelligently directed alien space probe sent to observe the Earth. The author writes intelligentially, but that's not a word. I believe he meant intelligently. And Jeffrey begins. Let's make this a little bigger for my eyes. In case you haven't noticed, the normal everyday world that we now live in, just a few years ago, every day just a few years ago, was considered to be science fiction in the realm of conspiracy theory, and yet here we are. For over 50 years, any talk of UFOs and space aliens was immediately dismissed as crackpot. Now there are multiple federal agencies dedicated to making contact with ETs. Over at Harvard, 2 respected scientists say that a newly discovered comet, 3I Atlas, is actually an intelligently guided alien observation craft. That's the memo. You can bet your bottom dollar that visitors are indeed set to arrive from outer space, and in fact, may already be here. And no, we are not looking for little green men flying around in a saucer. We're looking for fallen angels that present as men. The very same men talked about in Genesis 6. Now, maybe you don't believe that. Maybe it's a little too wild for you. But we who believe the book not only believe it, but are anticipating it to happen maybe even before the rapture of the church. For in such an hour as you think, for in such an hour as you think not, there it is. Looks like they're selling a book here. And we got a little drop down there we want to get rid of. There we go. From the New York Post. NASA discovered 3I Atlas on July the 1st, speeding through the inner solar system at 140,000 miles per hour. Bad Wolf now on Twitch. Thank you, Bad Wolf. According to observations from the Atlas telescope in Chile. I guess that's how it got its name. With experts clueless as to where it originated. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb suggested in a new paper that this object, only the third one from the interstellar regions ever detected, could be an intelligently directed craft observing Earth with possible hostile intentions. Here's a quote from the paper from Dr. Loeb, Adam Drowell, and Adam Hibbard, which was published July 17, 16 days after the first observation, in which they say the hypothesis in question is that 3I Atlas is a technological artifact and furthermore has active intelligence. If this is indeed the case, then two possibilities follow. First, welcome to Legion D. Legion D says, nice to see you again, Bill. I don't know what you did, but you just lost a lot of weight. Great job. I'm up to a loss of 110. I was shocked when I got on the scale on the other day and noticed that I'm still losing. I did make one minor adjustment to my diet. I stopped eating candy, so that helped a little bit. But more about that later. Thank you, Legion D. First, that its intentions are entirely benign, and second, they're malign. The experts opined, suggesting ETs. The paper presented several anomalous characteristics of the object, which could indicate that it is not a comet at all, but instead a directed craft. Loeb writes that 3I Atlas approaches surprisingly close to 3 planets of our solar system, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. Notice that Mars, maybe when this probe was launched, probably had water on it, with a probability of about less than 0.005%. So that's the odds that it's going to go past three of our planets in the solar system. Good observation. Also, 3I Atlas's low retrograde tilt, in other words, how it's so close to the plane of the solar system itself, would seemingly allow it to access our planet with relative impunity. End quote. The retrograde tilt means attempts by humanity to intercept it, or even more difficult, rendezvous with it, are extremely challenging. While the route simultaneously gives 3I Atlas easy access to certain key target planets, according to the paper. Welcome, Dom Cortez. Good evening, sir. Loeb further suggests that the tilt and pathway would allow the intelligent life on the object to gather astronomical measurements, to determine the orbits and masses of solar system planets, allowing it to prepare an optimal approach strategy to the solar system. Loeb further suggests that the tilt and pathway would allow the intelligent life on the object. Now, this could be living people or living beings, or they could be mechanical. It could be computerized. To gather astrometric measurements. I just read that. On July 1st, astronomers spotted an unusual high-speed object zooming towards the sun. Of the 3 that have visited us, these visitors from interstellar space, this is the fastest so far, I believe. Dubbed 3I Atlas, the surprising space traveler had one very special quality. Its orbit showed it had come from outside our solar system. For only the 3rd time ever, we had discovered a true interstellar visitor, and it was weird. And we have a little fundraiser here. And is there anything else? Nope, that's about it for that article. I think we have one more. This a post on Facebook from a poster whose name is Anunnaki. And Anunnaki says, and Anunnaki writes, Brooke Birch, welcome, ma'am. In 2019, A mysterious object was first spotted thanks to the ATLAS project, and ATLAS stands for Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System. I'm glad they have one of those. At the Mauna Loa Observatory in Hawaii. Initially named C-2019K1, it soon turned out to be something completely different from the usual known asteroids or comets. Its official name is now 3I Atlas. The 3I stands for the third interstellar object ever observed in our solar system. After Oumuamua in 2017, let's see if I can increase this for my old eyes. I can. And Borisov's comet in 2019, Atlas also revealed itself as a visitor from another star system. Its extraordinary features. Eldergrown says, it's too bad we can't just point the Hubble at it. Yeah, no doubt, right? Or the JWST. Hyperbolic trajectory. Atlas is not orbiting the sun. Its path is inclined and eccentric, so that it clearly indicates an interstellar origin. Impressive speed, over 156,000 kilometers per hour relative to the sun, a speed incompatible with an object born within our solar system. Estimated size. According to some sources, the object would be about 20 kilometers in diameter, making it vastly larger than both Oumuamua and Borisov's comet. Dark and massive appearance. Observations show a dark body with an irregular surface and no typical cometary coma, so it doesn't look like a comet. No gas emissions were detected, which you should have detected if it was a comet. Unknown origin. Orbital simulations suggest Atlas likely comes from the region of the galactic disk, but its retrograde and irregular trajectory makes it impossible to pinpoint its original system. No expected interaction. The object will pass at a safe distance, I think he means from Earth, but its approach allows close observations by space telescopes such as Hubble and James Webb. The arrival of 3I Atlas has reopened many questions about the origin and frequency of these interstellar visitors. How many are there out there? And how many have we missed for lack of proper instruments? Some scientists suggest these bodies could be fragments ejected from other planetary systems, or even remnants of destroyed planets. Others hypothesize they might contain compounds or materials never before seen. But the most fascinating question remains: could these objects carry organic material or information, or beings or devices from other worlds? Interstellar panspermia is an idea that is forcefully back on the table. The passage of 3I Atlas is a rare event, reminding us how little we know about the cosmic environment. It's not just a rock, it's a messenger. By the way, guys, we do need suggestions. Eldergrown says, I'm going to guess there have been countless solar system objects, but we're only now able to detect them. I saw an interesting video on YouTube yesterday where they were looking at photographs taken by observatories on Earth, or one particular observatory, I forget which it was. One particular observatory on Earth before the space age, before anything was launched into space by anybody, and that means before Sputnik, which is #1 launch from Russia. That's our history, folks, like it or not. And in these photographs, they saw objects which temporarily orbited the planet Earth. Okay, And the reason they know this is because these objects were passing through the shadow of the Earth cast by the sun. So there we have our second positive evidence for UFOs. And they said the appearance of these UFOs also coincided with nuclear tests and what they call UFO flaps, or sightings of UFOs by lots of people around the world. So I know a while back we saw our first actual physical, real evidence of UFOs from that Navy video of the UFO, which was traversing over the ocean at a height of a few meters, and then decided to splash down into the ocean, which they have on film. Now we have our second positive evidence for UFOs with the discovery of these orbital objects around the Earth from before our space age. Just thought I'd mention that. Welcome to Ken Raz, and welcome to Rainmaker. Rainmaker remembers the Tic Tac, another physical proof film taken by our military. I think they call it the Tic Tac because it was shaped like a Tic Tac. I forget what kind of movements it made, but they were certainly surprised by it. We need suggestions, people. Welcome to Verpine, and Verpine, thank you for subscribing on Prime. Folks, you can subscribe to us on Twitch with Prime for free. Prime provides you one free subscription on Twitch, and you should make it Night Terrors. Just Google it to find out how. I have an idea in my mind. I'm going to make a little video to show you quickly how to do this, but seemingly I never get around to it. There is plenty of information how to do it on Google, but it is in my mind to do it at some far point in time. Elders says the Tic Tac was really fast and made course adjustments, estimated at dozens of G-forces. Interesting, Elder. Thank you. Verpine has a topic. Excellent. Thank you, Verpine. You got that? We could use one more topic, people. Okay, let's get to the first one, which is from T Plateau. That's Takahama Plateau. And that is, let's see, are we at where we should be? Yes, we are. Duck, duck, go. Welcome to Yellow Rose for Texas. And she has a suggestion. Thank you, Yellow Rose. The Labubu doll sounds great. T Plateau wishes to know, who was Apache, the female Viet Cong sniper? That sounds interesting. And that is at 24 minutes past the hour. And that's the first result from Wikipedia, which we're going to bypass. Gotcha Man with a suggestion. In fact, he even provided the link. Thank you, G-Man. Oh, wow, that looks good. Why am I clicking on an ad? Oh, it's muted. Let's leave it there. And go back. Here? Right. Who was known as Apache? OperationTriumphus.org is the website. Let's try it. who was known as Apache. I thought it was a female. Yeah, it is. It's about her. Why is she not in the picture? This is another sniper, I guess, also known as the White Feather. At this website, which we have credited. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Thank you, Green Tea. We have to do a special section for the people who provide the URLs. It's entitled "Who Was Known as Apache," and it's written by John Podlasky. T. Plateau says Hatchcock allegedly unalived Apache in 1966 on Hill 55. May God rest her soul. Okay, let's increase this size of this type. When she was indisposed, begins the author. Land. Do they say who Land is? It just says Land called in an artillery barrage on the group of snipers. The group started running towards Hatchcock and Land. Oh, Land is the name of a person, apparently. And welcome to, I'm going to have to lean real close to figure out this name. It looks like Vimontix Dubatis, who says the book Marine Sniper about Hatchcock. Sounds like a good recommendation, Dubatis. Thank you. At that point, Jim told Carlos to take her down. Hatchcock put a round in her with his bolt-action Winchester, Model 70, 30-06, a 7.62 millimeter rifle, and she collapsed on the ground. Land told Hatchcock to put another round in her. Hatchcock fired again, and her body convulsed. She was 31 years old, and that was the end of that quote-unquote sadistic bitch. This was a major victory of morale. The artillery strike killed the other 5 snipers. The female Viet Cong sniper and interrogator, known as Apache, enjoyed torturing the 5th Regiment. I'd like to hear this story from the Viet Cong side. 1st Marine Division, U.S. Marines, and South Vietnamese troops, our allies, and letting them bleed to death. Letting them, was she supposed to go out and offer what do they say? Give aid. Well, now this is not good. She was known for liberating eyelids and saving them as souvenirs. Now I got to agree with that. She was of Vietnamese and French ancestry and grew up in Hanoi. The French, of course, fought the Vietnamese before the Americans did. And one other group, which escapes my memory at the time. But I guess that's how her mother and father met. She operated around Hill 55 in the vicinity of Duc Pho, 8 miles from Da Nang. She used a 7.62 millimeter Model 44, Russian-made Mosin Nagant rifle with a scope. I believe, I can't remember his name now. So I'll just skip that comment. In 1966, legendary sniper Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Hatchcock II and his spotter, Captain Edward Jim Land, were sent from Da Nang to hunt for Apache. She was notoriously well known to Marines around Hill 55. Because of her brutal tactics and infamy, she quickly became a high-profile target. Of course, some American troops did the same thing, collected souvenirs, so to speak, quote-unquote souvenirs. For instance, such as ears. But eyelids, I mean, that's that's something else. One day she had captured a young Marine during an ambush. I'm not trying to excuse either. Within hearing range of the hilltop camp defenders. I mean, it was illegal to do that kind of thing. I mean, against the conventions of war. The Geneva Convention, to be specific. Within hearing range of the hilltop camp defenders after her Marine capture, she tortured him through the night. Yeah, I can understand why they wanted to get her. Excuse me. Hatchcock and Land heard the horrendous scream. The next morning, a Marine private staggered toward camp. It was bleeding profusely. Much of his skin had been cut away. That's not good. His fingernails removed. I mean, they're talking not good. And his fingernails removed. He had been castrated, and his arms were hanging limp, the bones broken and exposed. Land said, Carlos ran towards the Marine, who collapsed unalive, a few feet in front of him. It took several days for Carlos and Jim to locate the Viet Cong sniper team. Late one afternoon, Land spotted the group with a Vietnamese woman that fit Apache's description, at a range of 700 yards. He pointed her out to Hatchcock. She was a small woman walking towards a ridgeline with her squad of 5 Viet Cong guerrillas. All of them were armed, and Hatchcock noticed that the woman was carrying a rifle with a scope. Carlos did not want to shoot the wrong one, so he waited. When she squatted to relieve herself, Land called in an artillery barrage on the group. The group started running towards Hatchcock and Land. At that point, Jim told Carlos to take her down. Hatchcock put a round in her with his bolt-action Winchester, and she collapsed on the ground. Land told Hatchcock to put another round in her. Hatchcock fired again. Her body convulsed. She was 31 years old, and that was the end of that, quote-unquote, sadistic biatch. This was a major morale victory. The artillery strike killed the other 5 snipers. End of story. Thank you to T. Plateau, and welcome to Aloysius Devender Abercrombie. Aloysius says, Bill, just stopping in to say hello before heading off to work. Trying to think of something positive to say about work. May it be a light day, Aloysius. Thank you. Welcome, Ryu 1972. T. Plateau says, so the Viet Cong cared about the Geneva Convention. Good point, T. Plateau. Ryu saying good evening to myself and everyone. Okay, so next up at, got to find the pen here, 34 after the hour, is Green Tea. And Green Tea would like to know, Thank you, Elder. Let me try this a third time here. Got it. Who was Dion Fortune? And how did she help with the Second World War? Psychic warrior, it says at the Gary Lackman site. Aloysius says, let's hope. Let's hope so. Let's try Gary Lackman's site. Here at Gary-Lackman.com, who subtitles his internet site Consciousness, Culture, and Esoteric Tradition. I like the esoteric. Elder Grown quotes, "You see me now a veteran of 1,000 psychic wars." Thank you, Elder. And Gary Lackman writes in an article entitled, or a post entitled, or a blog entry entitled, Dion Fortune, Psychic Warrior. On Sunday mornings, during the height of the Battle of Britain, several people could be found huddled together in 3 Queensborough Terrace, Bayswater, engaged in an activity most Londoners would not have recognized as part of the war effort, imagining themselves as part of the group soul of the race. The group soul of the race. These otherwise respectable citizens visualized angelic presences, red-robed and armed, patrolling the length and breadth of our land. Further meditations had them patrolling minefields off the coast of Norway and performing astral commando raids on high-ranking schmatzis. This magical effort against Schmittler and company continued throughout the war, and although its effect on the dark forces of National Socialism may be doubted, the earnestness of those participating was unquestionable. The fact that during the Blitz, not 1 but 2 German bombs fell on the headquarters of the Fraternity of Light, the group behind this spiritual resistance movement, might suggest that the Fuhrer recognized the threat and tried to eradicate it. The further fact that those engaged in these etheric expeditions spoke of astral dogfights and mystical punch-ups might also suggest that there was more behind them than just patriotic wishful thinking. This photo captioned, "The leader of this occult National Guard was at any rate very familiar with magical battles. In fact, it was through one such row itself that she first became involved in the occult." This must be Dion herself. Having learned early on how to defend herself from psychic attack, and having devoted many years to mastering the mystic arts, my apologies for all the missteps. I think it's because I had 3 cups of coffee an hour before the show, which I never do. But in the past 24 hours, I only got about 6 hours sleep, 2 episodes of 3 hours each. So I was really worried I was going to get nodding. And nodding is not good on air. It doesn't look good, and it takes a lot of time to edit it out of the videos that you can see on Wednesday. Where are they? They're right here. These guys. Only 2 so far, fortunately, out of the, I think, 29 that I've uploaded. By the time Schmittler made a bid to annex Britain, she no doubt felt capable of defending not only herself, but her nation. Green tea and Rhino Rex are trying to comfort me about the nodding off, but I'm incredibly vain. And it doesn't look good. It does not look good. The name of this remarkable character was Dion Fortune, and she was one of the most brilliant figures of 20th century esotericism. This, however, was not her name at birth, at least not her first one. She was christened Violet Mary Firth, born in North Wales on December the 6th, 1890. As is true of many esoteric figures, little is known of Violet's early years, as one writer remarks. She obscured the details of her life and the true nature of her personality behind a cloak of glamour and illusion, something that could be said of other occult figures like Madame Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley. Her father came from the prosperous steel-making Firth family of Sheffield. Arthur Firth didn't follow this line, becoming a solicitor, although by the time of Violet's birth he was running the Craigside hydropathic establishment in Llandudno, having already run similar spa hotels in Bath, or a spa hotel in Bath. An apt career, perhaps, for the father of someone for whom the sea would be a central symbol of mystery, magic, and power. How long is this article? Violet's mother. Psychic postcards. She had visions of prehistoric Atlantis, and at 14 was writing poems about the sea. She went to Studley College. This evidently her college snap. She was familiar with the principal of the college. She began to study psychology. Her later work drew on psychoanalysis, producing what some have called a psychologized occultism. As World War I had begun, she joined the Land Army. Her time at Studley College served her well, and she was put to work for the Food Production Department of the Ministry of Agriculture. Here she discovered a means of making milk from soybeans, and even wrote a book about it. At the Theosophical Club, she read Annie Besant's The Ancient Wisdom. And here's the front of that book, or a representation of that book. In 97, they had no flyleafs, I'm pretty sure. An outline of theosophical teachings. This evidently influenced her. With the end of the war, Violet left the army. It was around that time she met the Irish Freemason and occultist Theodore William Moriarty, the model for her Psychic Detective and the Secrets of Dr. Taverner, her collection of occult short stories, published in 1926. She joined a group who belonged to Moriarty's society. And more details about that. Handsome-looking woman. Welcome to Rizwan. Rizwan says hello from Pahrump, Nevada. She was described in a 1930 book called Psychic Self. No, she wrote a book called Psychic Self-Defense in 1930, describing an astral battle between herself and Moina Mathers. I guess the two psychics were at loggerheads. Why would they have this? We may never know. More about the battle. Rainmaker is here. Welcome, Rainmaker. Rhino Rex says she looks like the Bellatrix Lestrange. Her personal life, 1927. Where's the World War II? They don't do World War II? Okay, here it is. When World War II broke out, she turned her powers toward protecting the sceptered isle, whose spiritual tradition she had spent decades promulgating. And from Bayswater, Glastonbury, and other points in besieged Britain, she had her students radiate psychic energies, hoping to keep the dark forces at bay. Whether it was this effort, or the work of a black magician in Schmittler's inner circle, whom she believed directed baleful energies upon her, the war years saw her health decline. She really put her all into it. Well, she was a veteran. Many who knew her in her last years said she was a burnt-out shell. One of these was the welcome Synchro 505. Synchro 505, or Michael, as I know him, and as he is, provides all the incidental music for the show. She was close to death and had lost most of her physical force and vigor when Kenneth Grant met her in 1945. Grant believed that fortune was the magical Shakti of the New Age, linking her to Crowley's vision of a new eon. And he described some late meetings between Fortune and Crowley, a magician who in her early years she had steered clear of. Apparently they corresponded, and Grant recalled a stack of Crowley fortune letters, but sadly those met an unfortunate fate. After Crowley's death in 1947, the letters were sent to Carl Germer, then head of Crowley's Ordo Templi Orientis. Germer later moved to California and made the mistake of living near some of Charles Manson's family. Some of the family burgled his home, and among other items, they took every letter of Crowley. These were then lost in a fire started at the family home by a disgruntled junior member. If the letters existed, there was probably no great esoteric loss. I doubt that. Meaning that Crowley's letters are generally about himself, and his missives to Fortune would probably be of the same stamp. For researchers and biographers, of course, it's a different matter. Thank you, Green Tea. Next up at 49 minutes past the hour is a suggestion from Rhino Rex, to wit, it still fails to taste. I guess I'll never get it to do that. Just have to paste it in manually. Oh no, 2 key presses. Okay, the Matt Emick Dogman story. Fascinating. Thank you, Rhino. That is how you spell his name. There's a Reddit description of the encounter. Apple Podcast description. Video. Podcast. Video. Facebook post. But here at Untold Radio AM, that sounds like a short description as well. A lot of it, this is video. More results, please. Rhino Rex says, for sure, my spell check had a stroke letting me post it, spelled that way, without fixing it. Dogman Books, not going to help us. More videos. Spreaker sounds like a podcast site. Welcome, Dinka Mossy. G'day, sir. Maybe Reddit's going to be the best thing we can find. High strangeness factor. Let's open the first Reddit one, but let's continue to look a little bit. We'll move that here. I think that's where it should be. No, it should be here. Yeah. Okay, next page, please. Apple Podcast, videos and podcasts, no articles. Isn't that odd? And hard to believe. Spreaker again. That's got to be some kind of Untold Radio. Yeah, it's a podcast site. Listen Notes, a notes on a podcast. iHeart. Wow, almost nothing. Almost no articles. Hey, note you aspiring spooky story video makers on YouTube. There's nothing about this anywhere. Or you bloggers, rather. Rhino Rex says, I've seen this guy show up on several podcasts and videos. I just assumed there'd be articles. I would assume there would be too. But this is like the 4th page, and here's page 5. Yeah. Let's try the Reddit. Posted by a person who is no longer a member of Reddit, so his name's been deleted, so anonymous. Entitled Dogman Werewolf Encounter. And it just has a link to a YouTube video. Synchro says, only the largest ghost channels seem to have survived the spooky story channel Purge on YouTube. Yeah, right. That's, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, what about that other Reddit? That was recent. Where's the other Reddit? I saw it just a second ago. Oh, of course it's going to bring down the search for me, which I don't need. Come on, where's the other Reddit? Dead air. You don't want dead air. If I knew the SIG, it's red, kind of orangey SIG with a lady's face. There it is. There it is. Most incredible encounter I've ever heard of. And it looks like another link to a YouTube video. Matt MCH talks about his encounter. Absolutely nothing about it other than copyright material. Okay, Rhino, you could take a look online and see if there's an article. My apologies. Let's make this our section where we go to people who provide links. Not meant to be any, even though it is, obviously, not meant to be any disparagement upon yourself, Rhino Rex. My apologies. And this one, I assume from Gotcha Man. No, or this one from Gotcha Man. They're both, one of them's from Gotcha Man and one's from somebody else. I don't even remember the credits for these, so let's just deal with it. Why are these? U.S. representative, and what's the other one? Yeah, this is the Goldie Hawn one. This is for the, we covered Anna Paulina in the first segment. Let's do the Goldie Hawn commercial. Good thing this is muted. We will have to wait it out. This is written at eonline.com, like eons and eons. Gotcha Man was the Anna Paulina. And too bad I don't remember the other one. Who the other submitter was. But here is your topic. Okay. I hope there's some... good. I'm glad that was muted. Thank you, wise person who suggested this. Entitled, Goldie Hawn Says Aliens Touched Her Face During Out of This World Encounter. It's written by Haley Santa Florentina. And Ms. Santa Florentina begins. Forget out-of-towners. Goldie Hawn says she's met out-of-worlders. So Goldie Hawn was in the Golden Age comedy, The Out-of-Towners, I believe. I don't know whether it's the first one or the second one. I think they remade it. But it might not be the Golden Age one. The 77-year-old recently revealed she had an encounter with extraterrestrials in her early 20s. Let's call this, we'll start at calling it, give me 2 minutes, let's say 56 we started. Goldie. And this was Emic, which we didn't have too much luck on. Goldie remembered per today during the October 23rd episode of Apple Fitness Plus's Time to Walk. I got this high-pitched sound in my ear. It was this high frequency. And I looked out the window and I saw these 2 or 3 triangular-shaped heads. The overboard actress described the aliens as being silver, with a slash for a mouth and a tiny little nose. In fact, she saw them engage in an animated conversation. Quote, they were pointing at me, Goldie continued, pointing at me in the car as if they were discussing me. Like I was the subject, and they were droning. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. End quote. But despite thinking in the moment that she'd made contact with outer space, the First Wives Club actress largely dismissed the memory as a dream. At least until she found books featuring others sharing similar stories of encounters with aliens or experiences with UFOs. And in fact, it was a conversation she had with an astrophysicist. How do we get rid of this? There's no X on that. No, I'm not going to do that. At the University of Illinois, many years later, that triggered more details about Goldie's encounter. She explained, "Suddenly I remembered something. They touched my face, and it felt like the finger of God. It was the most benevolent, loving feeling. This was powerful. It was filled with light." For Goldie, the memory stands as a reminder about life itself. "We can never lose our wonder," she said. "It's just no fun. It's really an important aspect of being an adventurer, where nothing is impossible." And one adventure in her own life? Her relationship with longtime partner Kurt Russell. Though the pair, who share son Wyatt Russell, in addition to Goldie's children Oliver and Kate Hudson, from a previous marriage, have been getting together since 1983, they have no plans for an official union. "Why should we get married?" the Death Becomes Her actress said to CNN's Chris Wallace in July. "How many divorces are fun? How many divorces actually don't cost money? According to the IRS, it's cheaper not to be married, isn't it? How many divorces make you hate the person more than you did before? How many divorces have hurt children?" Well, if you split up, your children are going to be hurt, Goldie. Instead, never marrying has been a cornerstone of the couple's relationship. Goldie added, "I think didn't they meet? And didn't they get together during one of the ones they mentioned? The one where Overboard? During Overboard? Easy to remember that name. Goldie added, ultimately, staying independent with independent thinking is important. So you can hold on to yourself, and you can actually have that feeling. I guess to her, marriage represents not staying together. So, to both of them, I guess, right? Or they both believe in it. Synchro tells us that they probably both live in Venice, California. Okay, next up at 3 minutes past the hour is a suggestion from Verbeen. Which is to say, why did I highlight that? I know I'm only going to have to do it again. The McGuire Air Force Base alien encounter of 1978. Ooh, at Weird, New Jersey. Or UFO Casebook. Casebook sounds enticing. Or nightcap.org. Let's go to nightcap.org. Where there's barely anything. We'll make this our first stop. Thank you, T Plateau. Yes, I have your suggestion. Gotcha Man says Goldie Hawn and Bill Hudson Oh, that was her previous marriage, whom she divorced when Kurt Russell came along. Thank you, G-Man. Here at nightcap.org is reported an alien being shot unalive by military police. Rhino Rex couldn't find the Dogman article, but he did find the top 10 Dogman podcasts to win over your girlfriend. I could use any tips I could get. And if my wife heard me say that, McGuire Air Force Base, Fort Dix, New Jersey, January 18th, 1978. From Francis Ridge, noted researcher Leonard Stringfield presented his paper on the Fort Dix McGuire incident at the 1985 MUFON Symposium. The September issue of the CAUS Washington Report announced the case to many researchers. In its December issue, the same source stated, breakthrough on the Dix-McGuire UFO connection. Thanks to the conscience pangs of one of the principals involved, we now have a document confirming some of the events surrounding the slaying of a UFO occupant in 1978 near Fort Dix-McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. Richard Hall saying, the story came from an air policeman whom I have come to know very well by way of Len Stringfield. Len and I worked together on the investigation, a very important case. And here we go. Are these all related? A briefing. Running code. The night the alien died. Fatal encounter. How are we going to choose? There's like 8 of them. There is 8 of them. A briefing, running code, final encounter, original letter from informant to Stringfield. Let's do that. Open a new tab. Not found. Okay. That means we got to use some tricks here. We got to copy the URL. It's a GIF. Oh, in that case, probably not. They probably removed the photograph. We'll probably never find a photograph. It's been removed. But we give it a shot. That's just because I've never tried to do it before, so we'll try to find it. Let's go to that YouTube tool. Under research. The Wayback Machine. Sponsored by the Internet Archive. Okay, did I get it? I did not. That's the suggestion. Let's get that URL. Which is in the previous page. We'll see. And Control V. Let's copy and paste. So here's when it could be seen in 2018. Looks like they have a single snapshot, maybe. Yeah, that's correct. Let's take a look. It just goes to the same place, which is odd. Okay. Oh, not a good thing. However, are these all pictures? How about the incident complaint report? Part 1. Part 1. Dead link. Part 2. Well, this is still at Web Archive. Why are we doing this still at Web Archive? Incident complaint. First link. Okay, these are all pictures. They're GIFs. So, next source. Let's try the casebook. Alien being shot unalive by military police, January 18, 1978, Fort Dix. Case basics. This section completed by Richard Hall. And it's static. Oh, minus again here. During the early morning hours of January 18th, UFOs were sighted flying over Fort Dix and McGuire Air Force Base, which are adjacent military bases. Shortly afterward, an Air Force security patrol was ordered to the back gate of McGuire to allow entry to the state police who were searching for something. One of the airmen on duty was Sergeant Jeff Morse. That's a pseudonym. The state trooper told Morse that a Fort Dix military policeman was pursuing a low-flying object that had hovered over his vehicle. Then a small being with a large head and slender body appeared in front of his car. The MP panicked and shot the alien several times with a .45 automatic. The being had fled over the fence between the two bases before falling and dying on the deserted runway. Morse and his colleagues found the body lying on the runway. As they followed routine procedure and roped off the area, other Blue Beret forces unfamiliar to Morse and his companion took over. Elder says, "Ah, the trusty Colt." Rhino Rex says, "Shot the alien. Welcome to America." Morse was relegated to a backup role, but could see from a distance what was happening. 2 days later, later that day, a team from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base arrived in a cargo aircraft, a C-141, crated up the body, loaded it on board, and took off. Morse and his companion were warned not to talk about the incident, or they would be court-martialed. 2 days later, Morse and other participants were taken to Wright-Patterson, which is in Ohio, by the way, where they underwent intimidating interrogation and were again warned not to talk about the incident. You know, I'm beginning to believe this is real. I've been a UFO skeptic until that day, the day of the show, on the that I showed the film of from the military of the UFO hovering over the water and then submerging with a splash. But I'm beginning to believe that they carted away that damn body. Morse supplied the names of the interrogation team taken from their name badges, and their identities have been verified. Morse reported, "They told me about my duty to keep my mouth shut. I signed a form. It was supposed to bind me for life." Shortly after returning to McGuire Air Force Base, I don't know how legal that form would be. Maybe while you're in the service, if it's not an illegal order, but after you're out of the service, Morse was debriefed by his commanding officer, a lieutenant colonel, whose name is also known. and heard no more about the incident. Shortly thereafter, each of the airmen who had been involved was transferred to a separate overseas base. Morse was shipped to Okinawa, which was, it's a plum assignment. It's also a good way to get someone out of the way of American media. Mike says, I wonder if alien bodies preserve well using formaldehyde. Shortly after returning to McGuire, I'm sorry, I'm getting behind myself. The author has met with Morse face to face several times, talked with him on the telephone numerous times, and considers him completely credible. He has cooperated fully, answering all questions to the best of his ability, and agreeing to meet and talk with the various colleagues. He has given a formal deposition of the incident in the presence of witnesses, and was subjected to questioning on specific details as a direct consequence of innocently being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Morse has been harassed and threatened, and his reputation defamed to the point that he had difficulty finding employment in the law enforcement world. Another witness of this extraordinary event was George Filer, Major, USA, retired, who was stationed at McGuire in '78. Serving as an intelligence officer, one of his duties was to brief the commanding general. He was not on duty at the time of the incident, but the next morning he heard talk about the alien body and saw a lot of unusual activity. He's prepared to testify on what he knows firsthand and what he has learned since. His statement. He's filers, right? Yeah, filers. This section compiled by ABC News' Caitlin Raymer in Washington and David Rupp in New York. Former Air Force Major George Filer III told reporters that when he was at McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, an alien craft came down, and an alien got out and was shot by a military policeman. Quote, our security police went out there and found him at the end of the runway, unalive. They asked me to brief the general staff, he said, but was later told not to. He said he would tell the story in front of Congress. Filer is not new to UFO sightings. He has his own website called Filer's Files, where he says he also chased an alien ship over England when flying for the U.S. Air Force. Quote, I personally have observed a UFO both visually and on radar. I've been chasing them ever since, he writes. The additional information that follows is taken from the MUFON Symposium Proceedings. Fatal Encounter at Fort Dix McGuire. Green Tea asks, why would they kill it without trying to talk to it? Eldergone says, fear. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Fear. Additional details about the case came by phone conversation. Dinkamasi says, because they want to crack it open and see inside. And a letter exchanged between Springfield and Morse, based on questions by Springfield. Description of the humanoid. At varying times during his patrol duty, Morse was within 40 to 70 feet from the prostrate, prostrate body on the abandoned runway number 5. Never close enough to observe details such as facial features or its hands and feet. He did recall that under the glare of truck headlights, the skin of the unclad, hairless body was wet, shiny, and snake-like. As reported in his initial letter, the entity was 4 feet tall and had a large head, a slender torso, and thin arms and legs, and overall of a grayish-brown coloration. Yuck. Welcome to Boogiegram. I like your name. As reported in... I read that already. Unquestionably not human. It was, however, of humanoid stature, fitting the anatomical description so often heard from military sources who have made claim to have seen entities at crash sites, and as defined coincidentally by a medical source who allegedly performed an autopsy on a specimen in the early 50s. Always pressing for more detail. Oh, Boogeyman. Boogiegram. Welcome to Michael Mask. I once proffered the notion that the McGuire corpse could have been that of a wild animal, a deer, or perhaps an escaped ape from a military experimental lab. It's Bougie. Oh, it's Bougie. Bougie, but it's spelled... It's Bougie. But it's spelled the correct French way. But thank you for the welcome. Bougie-gram. Well, I'm French too, my friend. Madon. Pleasure to meet you, pal. Bougie-gram. Always pressing for more detail. I once proffered the notion that I just read that already, getting behind myself again. The only other anomaly that Morse attributed to the presence of the body was the strong smell of ammonia in the cold night air. Maybe that's what he breathed. And as I note here, that same odor has been present at other crash sites. The retrieval operation. It was maximum security. Dinkamosi says, ooh la la. Said Morris, who, alone in his patrol car, received word by radio that a state of alert was in effect at McGuire as the result of the shooting. He was ordered to Gate 5 to answer the request of a state police officer who had been running code with the MP during his encounter at Fort Dix and wanted admission to the airbase. Morris was ordered to comply, but when the trooper wanted to get closer to the runway, he was not allowed and he was angry. On orders by radio, Morse was told that all personnel... Bougie-gram says, many people make the same mistake on TikTok and call me Boogie. Including he and other members of his security police unit, were restricted from entry into the roped-off zone. Taking command was a new and unfamiliar team of blue berets that suddenly descended onto the scene, just moments after the runway had been cordoned off. With speed and efficiency, they took over, he said, and when asked who they were told nothing in order to stay outside the ropes. Perplexed by this covert action, he noted that all of them were staff sergeants and up, wearing fatigues without patches or insignia. As for the headgear, he said, they wore the blue berets just like mine. In one letter, Morse vaguely speculated they were undercover cops. And by phone, he said he felt certain they were stationed somewhere at McGuire to account for their quick deployment to the runway. In support of this, when asked if helicopters were seen or overheard, his reply was negative. This, it seems, would rule out any notion that they had been transported from an outside base. It also strengthened his belief and mine, writes the author, that a UFO had not crashed or been disabled nearby, requiring close tactical air support. But what of a landed craft, perhaps one that touch-landed earlier at Fort Dix? Could it have deployed one or more of its kind to perform some duty, forever unknown, at one or both of the adjoining military installations? The book Clear Intent by Lawrence Fawcett and Barry Greenwood relates many reports of UFO surveillance over air bases in 75 to 76. And I know of many more hidden under the lid of secrecy, writes the author. At McGuire, once the sensitive area had been roped off and the point established, a generator unit was brought in for better lighting. The body was carefully placed onto a platform and a wooden frame built around it. This finally was placed into a large, square, silver metal container, about 10 feet square, with undistinguishable blue markings. I guess it was too far away to see. There were markings, but he couldn't read them, and they were blue. Before going off duty, Morris and others watched the silver-black box forklifted into a C-141 military cargo plane, which arrived about 7 a.m. from Wright-Patterson in Ohio. Bouget says, I've met aliens, but the latest experience was with reptilians. And that was very odd and sinister. Do tell, Bouget. Do tell. For Sergeant Morse and others of the Blue Beret regulars at McGuire, it was far from over, though, when the C-141 with corpse took off. 2 days later, he and 3 others were also loaded on the same kind of plane on orders to report to Wright-Patterson. The setting at Wright-Patterson was like that of a court-martial, a table and chairs and an unadorned room, which Morse describes as follows. While we were all together except for actual interrogations. My interrogation had 2 men, one apparently a civilian with pipe and beard who never spoke. Civilian observer of some kind. At one point there were 3 men. One played nice guy, one played mean guy, of course. And then there was the silent civilian. All they wanted to know was the nature of the incident, what I knew, and then told me about my duty to keep my mouth shut. Excuse me. I signed the form, and it is supposed to bind me for life. That doesn't sound legal to be binding you after you leave the military. I mean, it can't be legal. The government can't contract with you to limit your freedom of speech, unless you're in the military where you have to follow orders, unless they're illegal. Latest information. Never once, as Morse recalls, did any of the interrogators offer information or explanation of the incident. Nor did anyone ever refer to the retrieved unalive body or suggest that it may have been of extraterrestrial origin. Said Morse, they beat around the bush. All references to it were indirect. Bouget says, if I told you I would be here all night typing. Much disappointed, Bouget. Much disappointed. Maybe someday you will grace us with an anecdote or two. The day after the interrogation, Morse returned to McGuire, was debriefed by his commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel FM. They're using initials here, but as they said, they know who FM is. And he was released for normal duty. The incident, he said, was not discussed again by anyone. It was like it never happened. This last section compiled by Springfield. The former Air Force security policeman who claims to have witnessed a UFO incident involving military police at McGuire recently visited the Washington, D.C. area from overseas, where he is employed, and he met with the author. Bouget says, I will send you a full account. Just don't want to type right now. There's much detail. Okay, cool. So maybe you wouldn't mind if I shared it the next time you come to the show. If you would mind, let me know. I can keep my mouth shut, as many people know, he said mysteriously. No, I don't talk. And it's not in my moral code. The Fund for UFO Research sponsored a mini conference to bring Springfield from Cincinnati, Ohio, and have representatives of the fund meet the witness to form their own impressions of his credibility. The fund-sponsored mini-conference took place in 1987 at a large shopping mall in D.C., in the suburbs. In addition to the authors and Morse, Dr. Bruce Maccabee attended, and William H. Hall was also there. More people, another person who should have been there but has a schedule conflict. Blah, blah, blah. The people who were there. William Hall had a number of things in common with Morse, including military police background and overseas duty, and believed he would be able to judge Morse's credibility as he talked about his activities. Anybody in the military would be able to do that. I'm not trying to disparage Mr. Hall. Anybody in the military should be able to do that. By prior arrangement, Morse remained incognito, using only his first name, but talked freely and responded to questions by Maccabee and Hall. During the questioning and review of the alleged incident, Morse filled in details that were missing from his previous accounts, but offered no new startling information. A number of questions were clarified, and some new information including claims that can be checked and either proved or disproved, were offered. However, the authors were again impressed by Morse's straightforwardness and lack of embellishment. T. Olson 2 says, Bouget, I can keep my trap shut. I was taught that by my late father. And Bouget does not mind if I read it on air. Excellent. Thank you, Bouget. In that case, get ready to come back next week. Pending your email. Among other things he discussed was the entire question of alleged harassment of UFO witnesses, of crash and retrievals, apparently in an attempt to intimidate them into silence. Should Morse's story be credible, he is potentially an important witness who could tend to undermine the official cover-up. Unfortunately, this makes him vulnerable to retaliation, which may account for his detainment. When was he detained? I missed that part. And inhibits his ability to lead a normal life. Skepticism about the crash retrieval reports may be justified, but Morse has now provided many additional leads that we intend to check, writes the author, and we will report our findings objectively as new information is obtained. Meanwhile, welcome Ryder to the show. Ryder says, seems they hide it very well, and they lie very well. And they're all in the military, or they have been in the military. And sometimes I think he means they are part of the conspiracy. Thank you, Ryder. Aside from the fact that Moore has claimed that all along this was a rough draft backroom copy subject to review and revision, and that minor errors would be corrected by responsible officials before the final report was filed, the key statement made by AFOSI that it looks like the wrong ranks were listed on the official form. Pay grades were given on the official form were given instead of ranks. Oh, I see, pay grades. Yeah, your pay grade can be different from your rank, which is rank is like private, corporal, sergeant, stuff like that. For example, in the Army, an E4, which is a pay grade, can be either a corporal or a specialist. They don't hand out corporal much anymore. It's all specialist now, which to me sounds kind of, I shouldn't say it, it's not PC. It sounds, I mean, I'd rather have had the rank of corporal than specialist. Who cares about specialist? I want to be a corporal. I was a specialist. And I became a sergeant eventually. I don't know why that's an important distinction in the form. Meanwhile, oh, here it is. Meanwhile, the authenticity of the incident report from Morse, supplied to Stringfield, obtained from a colleague still on active duty, has been disputed by AFOSI, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, on the grounds that the style and terminology used does not follow proper Air Force style and there's therefore probably a hoax. One of their key statements being that pay grades were given instead of ranks on the official form. And what form was it? It was the incident report. So I assume something as an MP, a military policeman, you have to fill out. Every time you have to interact with somebody or something. Well, that could be explained if their particular standard in that platoon or company or battalion or brigade or whatever, if their local standard was, no, don't put your rank down there, put down your pay grade. They don't mention that. Participants of the mini-conference discussed ways of obtaining additional information of the reported event, and various initiatives will be undertaken to do so, writes the author. As a result of the mini-conference, 2 additional persons, Maccabee and Hall, now have met and talked with Morse and can confirm he's not a fairy tale or a figment of their imagination. They are also now in a position to help confirm the story. See official documents. Well, let's hope this link works. Continue. Return to casebook home. So documents removed. Yeah, now this is another example where pictures have been removed. Instead of providing a text description, they just have the pictures of the stuff. They moved those pictures or deleted them from the website. So these little placeholders are shown instead. Looks like there were 3 documents that were supposed to have been shown. The official documents relating to the case. Return. All right, next up. From Yellow Rose at 42 minutes past the hour. Is our next topic. And that is, I'm doing it again, highlight after I grab the topic. The Labubu doll. Very interesting sounding. Thank you, Yellow Rose. My apologies for my persistent mispronunciations this evening. By way of explanation, I got very little sleep in the past 24 hours, maybe 2 cat naps of 3 hours each. And I was afraid I was going to nod off. So I loaded up on some delicious coffee. And I'm like really hyper. I've never done this before a show, ever. I've never loaded up on coffee before a show. It makes my ticker. It makes my ticker skip a beat. What do you call it? It's non-health threatening. I don't know the official name for it. It's kind of like a heart murmur. I have a non-life threatening heart murmur. And that when I drink too much coffee, my heart, I can feel it flutter. It's really a freaky feeling. I didn't drink that much coffee tonight, fortunately, but just enough to. Anyway, for Yellow Rose, the Labubu doll. Thank you, Yellow Rose. Yeah, the doctor gave me medicine for it, which I was supposed to take every day. But the stuff is very strong, and it only happens like once every 6 months. So I still have the prescription I was given a couple of years ago, and kind of strong, the medicine. And I'll only take half a pill, and it's like really tiny. So it's like half of a really tiny pill. And it works good. The flutter goes away. But I don't use it very often. Dinkum says, "Wake up, Sleepy Bill." Oh, it's Dinkum obviously says, "Wake up, Sleepy Bill," and buy him a coffee. Thank you, Dinkum. Yeah, that's in the description below. So please do. Bougie says, "Maybe try decaf." Yeah, then I'd be nodding off if I was drinking decaf, my friend. I'm a coffee drinker, but only like half a cup when I want to stay awake. Under normal circumstances. When you're doing a show is not normal circumstances. Or I don't consider it such. The Boo Boo dolls, oh, they sell them as well. Labubu doll. Huh. Dinkamazzi says, decaf defeats the purpose. What's a Labubu doll and why is it viral? Synchro says, tea has a good caffeine jolt too. Yeah. No doubt. Okay, that looks like it's bigger than it's supposed to be. Let's decrease that size. We could probably judge from the ads or whatnot here. Minus sign. Yeah. No, it's just a very poorly designed website. Here's a story by Stephen Valls at retailmenot.com entitled The Labubu Craze, Why Everyone is Obsessed with This Viral Plush Doll. Oh, and we're at, let's call it 45 minutes past the hour. Oh, I wrote it down already. Labubu. 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 That's the French version. It starts innocently enough, begins Mr. Vallis. Elder says they keep children. Oh, Dinkum says they keep children busy in Chinese sweatshops. It starts innocently enough. You see a tiny, funny gremlin-like creature dangling from someone's Prada bag or peeking out of a TikTok haul. Maybe you think, what is that oddly cute thing? Then you're in a deep YouTube spiral, searching where to buy Labubu and praying to the blind box gods that you can get your hands on the plush doll of your dreams. Welcome to the Labubu craze, where chaos, charm, and collectibles collide. Synchro asks, what are the children going to do when the robots take over the sweatshop gigs? Created by Hong Kong-born artist Kaising Lung, Labubu is part of a whimsical world called the Monsters, inspired by Nordic mythology, and brought to squishy vinyl life by Chinese toy company Pop Mart, according to NBC News. Think elvish ears, a mischievous grin, and chaotic good energy. She's not a standalone star either. Labubu has a whole monster squad, and yes, even a boyfriend named Taikoko, a skeleton cutie who's reportedly vegetarian. But there's no denying she's the breakout icon of the gang. Yeah, let's take a look at some. We haven't done any special asides tonight. Labubu. Labubu doll. Oh, that's a particularly interesting looking one. That's probably the other guy. This is on Etsy. It's made, perhaps not unsurprisingly, by Bitchco. That's a Labubu doll. Okay. I think that was probably not typical. This is more from Etsy. Yellow Rose says, try Haunted Doll Labubu. We'll get there, Yellow. We'll get there. Elder says, on Etsy, I'd gather that's a custom design. Oh, good point, Elder. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry, Yellow, if I'm not going fast enough. I won't give you short shrift. Like many cultural phenomena of the recent years, this started with two key ingredients. TikTok and K-pop. Okay, is this going to have the monsters? Or get your hands on one? I think I better take Yellow's advice. Spotting a fake. Wacky figures. Yeah, this is not this is not aligned with Night Terrors policy. So we need a different search. To it. Haunted Labubu doll. There was something else there when I was typing in haunted. Yeah, are Labubu dolls haunted? People are claiming Labubu is satanic. Elder Grown with a link. Thank you, Elder. From the Hindustan Times. Very good choice, Elder. Thank you. I kid you not. I love getting these, reading these articles from the Orient. Thank you, Elder. Here's why viral toy is being linked to the demon Pazuzu. Listed at HindustanTimes.com. In a story by the HTUS desk, Labubu dolls created by artist Ka-Sing Lung in 2015 is sparking conspiracy theories linking them to the demon Pazuzu, despite their innocent storybook origins. You must be living under a rock if you haven't heard about Labubus. I never did. From Wimbledon to being a celebrity favorite, the craze is real. Welcome, Tina T. So glad to have you at the end of the show. Tina is one of the Night Terrors' original gangsters. From Wimbledon to being a celebrity favorite, the craze is real. But are the dolls cute or evil? A now viral post has claimed Labubu dolls were linked to the ancient demon Pazuzu. Could you guys hear that alarm? That's actually my Tina Tomaszewski alarm. So glad we're going to get to use it tonight. It warns me 5 minutes before the end of the show. It all began when an Instagram user posted a video featuring the brown Labubu doll next to a demon. Look, Tina, looks like we're going to be at about 11:58 tonight. The warning: do not buy this demonic toy for your children or yourself. Also, my apologies to Yellow Rose. A few seconds into the video, we get a glimpse of The Simpsons, Season 29, Episode 4. Here, Marge buys a Pazuzu figure thinking it's a pizza. She then gives it to her baby, who ends up possessed. Maggie is the baby, right? The text attached to the video reads, "Parents, do not buy this toy for your kids." I'm sorry, Tina, I missed the message. Where's the rest of the story? That's it for the story? Okay. Now I'm going to have to apologize to Yellow Rose for Texas. Yellow Rose, please accept my apology. I told Yellow Rose I was not going to give her short shrift. But I have to be off the air at 11:58 this evening. I hope you forgive me. Chumlar has arrived. Welcome, Chumlar. Yellow Rose forgives me. Thank you, Yellow Rose. This looks like a great story. How much time do I have? Maybe 15, 20 seconds. Can we find something in that time? How about if we go to a picture for the Labubu doll evil? Let's go to this. Devil's Pet. Yeah, look at that. The Devil's Pet. Here's one with a open image, new tab. With the source demon beside a Labubu doll. And you can see they are kind of similar. Especially considering the big toothy smile. Labubu Pazuzu. Okay, guys, don't forget the Wednesday morning show. And don't forget to join us next Saturday. Until then, may God bless and protect you all.